Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over. Most people spend this coin every day without realizing it could buy a mansion. Yes, we're talking about a 2014 D Lincoln penny, and before you roll your eyes thinking it's just another ordinary penny, let me tell you something that will absolutely shock you. This particular 2014 D Lincoln penny has been valued at an astonishing $4 million. Yes, you heard that right, $4 million for a penny that was minted just over a decade ago. A coin that could be hiding in your piggy bank, your car's cup holder, or even that forgotten jar on your dresser right now. And before we dive deep into what makes this 2014 D penny so incredibly valuable, I need you to stick around because after this coin, we're going to reveal even more pennies that will absolutely blow your mind. Coins with values that will make this $4 million look like pocket change, secrets that every coin collector desperately wants you to know, treasures that could be sitting in your home right now without you even realizing it. So make sure you watch till the very end, because what's coming next will leave you speechless. Now, let's talk about why this 2014 D Lincoln penny became one of the most sought-after coins in modern numismatic history. The Denver Mint, indicated by that little d marked beneath the date, produced billions of pennies in 2014. They rolled off the production line by the millions every single day, workers operating massive machines that stamped out penny after penny in an endless stream of copper-plated zinc coins. But here's where the story gets absolutely fascinating. Somewhere in that massive production run, something went terribly wrong, or should I say, wonderfully wrong for anyone lucky enough to find one of these error coins. You see, the 2014 D penny that's worth $4 million isn't just any regular penny. It's a penny with a major minting error that makes it extraordinarily rare. We're talking about a double die obverse error so pronounced that even non-collectors can spot it with the naked eye. The doubling appears most dramatically on the words liberty and in God we trust, where you can see a clear shadow or echo of the letters, almost like the coin was stamped twice but slightly off-center, creating this ghostly duplicate image that's absolutely unmistakable. But what makes this particular 2014 D double die even more special than other double die errors throughout history? Well, it's the severity of the doubling combined with the fact that very few examples made it into circulation before the error was caught. Mint officials discovered the problem relatively quickly and pulled the die from production, but not before a small handful of these error pennies slipped through quality control and ended up in pocket change across America. And that's what makes this coin so incredibly valuable today. The story of how this error was discovered is equally fascinating. It all started when a sharp-eyed collector in Colorado was going through rolls of pennies they'd picked up from their local bank, a hobby that many coin enthusiasts practice regularly, hoping to find that one treasure hiding among thousands of ordinary coins. And on one otherwise ordinary Tuesday afternoon, this collector noticed something unusual about one of the 2014 D pennies in their stack. The lettering looked strange, doubled, almost like their eyes were playing tricks on them. They pulled out a magnifying glass and examined the coin more closely. And that's when they realized they were holding something potentially extraordinary. The doubling was clear, dramatic, and unlike anything they'd seen in a modern penny before. Their hands actually started shaking as they carefully placed the coin in a protective holder and immediately contacted professional grading services to authenticate their find. When the coin was submitted to PCGS, one of the most respected coin grading companies in the world, the experts there were stunned. They'd heard rumors of a 2014 D double die error circulating among collectors. But this was the first confirmed example they'd seen in person. The coin was authenticated, graded, and suddenly the numismatic world exploded with excitement. News spread through coin collecting forums, Facebook groups, and YouTube channels like wildfire. Everyone wanted to know more about this mysterious 2014 D penny that seemingly appeared out of nowhere. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly determines the value of a coin like this? Why would someone pay $4 million for what's essentially a mistake? Well, in the world of coin collecting, rarity is everything. And when you combine extreme rarity with strong collector demand and a coin that's recent enough that people believe they might actually find one, you create a perfect storm of value. This 2014 D double die penny checks all those boxes and then some. The grading of the coin also plays a massive role in its value. The $4 million example was graded MS 67 plus by PCGS, meaning it's in nearly perfect mint state condition with just the slightest imperfections that prevent it from being a flawless MS 70. Coins in this condition are exceptionally rare because most pennies that enter circulation get handled, dropped, scratched, and worn down over time. Finding one of these error pennies in high grade is like finding a needle in a haystack. Then finding out that needle is made of platinum. But here's what makes this story even more incredible. Experts believe there could be more of these 2014 D double die pennies still out there in circulation, hidden in change jars, piggy banks, old wallets, and cash register drawers across the country. Most people handle dozens or even hundreds of pennies every month without giving them a second glance. They're just pennies after all, practically worthless in today's economy. But what if one of those pennies you absent-mindedly tossed into a tip jar or used to make exact change at the grocery store was actually worth millions? The thought alone is enough to make you want to check every single penny you come across from now on. And honestly, you absolutely should, because lightning can strike twice, and the next major find could be made by you. The history of valuable error pennies in America is long and fascinating, going all the way back to the earliest days of the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia. But modern errors like this 2014 D double die are particularly exciting because they prove that treasures aren't just locked away in museums or private collections of the ultra-wealthy. They're still being discovered, still circulating, still waiting for someone with sharp eyes and a bit of luck to find them. When this coin first appeared at auction, the bidding was absolutely insane. Collectors from around the world participated, either in person or by phone. The auctioneer's voice grew more excited with each bid. 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, and finally, after a tense back and forth between two determined bidders, the hammer came down at $4 million. The room erupted in applause, and the new owner, whose identity remains private to this day, walked away with not just a coin, but a piece of modern minting history, a conversation starter that would make any coin collector green with envy. Now imagine being the person who found that coin in a roll of pennies from their bank. Imagine a moment of realization when they understood what they were holding, the shock, the disbelief, the pure joy of knowing their life had just changed forever. Stories like this are what keep thousands of coin enthusiasts searching through their pocket change every single day, hoping that today might be the day they strike it rich. And remember, I mentioned earlier that you need to stick around because this 2014 D penny worth $4 million is just the beginning. We have more pennies to reveal, coins with even more astronomical values, secrets that will make your jaw drop. And one of these upcoming coins is valued at something so unbelievable that even veteran collectors have trouble wrapping their minds around it. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Trust me. So if you have any 2014 D pennies lying around, and statistically speaking you probably do since billions were minted that year, now is the time to check them carefully. Get yourself a magnifying glass or use your phone's camera to zoom in on the coin. Look specifically at the obverse. That's the front of the coin with Lincoln's portrait, and examine the words Liberty and In God We Trust very carefully. Are the letters crisp and clear, or do they appear doubled, shadowed, or echoed? If you see any doubling at all, you need to get that coin authenticated immediately by a professional grading service. It could be your ticket to financial freedom. The 2014 D Lincoln penny story reminds us that fortune favors not just the brave, but the observant. In a world where most people are rushing through their days, barely paying attention to the small details, the person who takes a moment to really look at things, to notice what others miss, that's the person who finds treasures worth millions. So keep your eyes open, check your change, and remember that the next life-changing discovery could happen at any moment, but don't go anywhere yet, because what's coming up next will absolutely blow your mind even more. Next, 2003 Lincoln penny worth $12 million. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune. The 2003 Lincoln penny looks like any other penny you'd find in your pocket change. Nothing special about it at first glance. Just another copper-colored cent with Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile staring back at you. But this particular 2003 penny has been valued at a staggering $12 million. Yes, $12 million for a penny that's only about 20 years old. A coin that could be sitting in your old wallet, your dresser drawer, or mixed in with that jar of change you've been meaning to sort through for years. And trust me, after you hear about this coin, you're going to want to check every single 2003 penny you can find. But before we reveal exactly what makes this penny so incredibly valuable, remember that we still have 3 more coins to discuss after this one, and each one gets progressively more shocking, more valuable, and more unbelievable. So you absolutely cannot leave before we reveal them all, because the final coin's value will leave you absolutely speechless. Now, let's dive into the fascinating story of the 2003 Lincoln penny that's worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime. The year 2003 was a particularly interesting time for the U.S. Mint. They were producing billions of pennies across multiple mint facilities, including Philadelphia and Denver. The production process was running smoothly. Thousands of coins were being struck every hour. Quality control inspectors were doing their jobs, and everything seemed perfectly normal. But as we've learned time and time again in the world of numismatics, sometimes the most valuable treasures are created when things don't go according to plan. The 2003 penny that collectors are desperately searching for features an extremely rare minting error known as a wrong planchet error. And this isn't just any wrong planchet error. This is one of the most dramatic wrong planchet errors ever documented in modern U.S. coinage. What happened was absolutely incredible. A blank planchet intended for a dime somehow made its way into the penny production line. And before anyone noticed, it was struck with the penny dies, creating a coin that has the size and weight of a dime, but the design of a penny. Can you imagine how wild that is? Picture this scene at the Philadelphia Mint. It's a busy day, machines are humming, coins are being produced at a rapid pace, workers are monitoring the equipment, everything is running on autopilot. And then somehow, through a series of mishaps that quality control specialists still debate to this day, a silver-colored dime planchet ends up in the wrong place at the wrong time. It travels down the production line, where pennies are being struck. The massive press comes down with tons of force. And wham! A 2003 penny design is stamped onto a dime planchet, creating one of the most unusual and valuable error coins of the modern era. When this coin was first discovered, the finder couldn't believe their eyes. They were going through pocket change, something coin enthusiasts do regularly, hoping to find silver coins or wheat pennies from before 1959. When they noticed a penny that looked distinctly wrong, it was smaller than a normal penny. The color was completely off. It had that silvery sheen of a dime rather than the copper-colored appearance of a typical penny. And when they weighed it, their suspicions were confirmed. This was not a normal penny. This was something extraordinary, something that shouldn't exist, something that represented a major mint error that somehow escaped into circulation. The excitement in the numismatic community when this coin was authenticated was absolutely electric. Coin dealers, collectors, and grading services all wanted to examine this mysterious 2003 wrong planchet penny. When it was finally certified by PCGS and given a grade of MS 65, meaning it was in gem, uncirculated condition with strong eye appeal and minimal marks, the coin world went absolutely crazy. Auctions were scheduled. Collectors were calling their dealers asking how they could bid on this once-in-a-lifetime piece, and the speculation about its value started building immediately. Now, you might wonder how they determine a value like $12 million for a coin like this. After all, there's no real precedent for pricing such a unique error. Well, the value is determined by several factors working together. First, there's the extreme rarity. Experts believe this might be a unique coin, meaning only one example exists. And when you have just one of something that thousands of collectors desperately want, the value goes through the roof. Second, there's the condition. This coin is in beautiful mint state condition. It hasn't been damaged by circulation. It hasn't been cleaned or mishandled. It looks nearly as fresh as the day it was struck. Third, there's the drama of the error itself. This isn't a subtle doubling or a minor die crack. This is a wrong planchet error that's visible to anyone who looks at it. You don't need to be an expert to see that something amazing happened with this coin. The auction where this coin was eventually sold was the stuff of legend. Collectors flew in from around the world to witness the event. The atmosphere in the auction house was tense with anticipation. When the auctioneer finally brought up the 2003 wrong planchet penny, you could hear a pin drop in a room. The bidding started at $1 million and quickly escalated. 2 million, 5 million, 8 million. Paddles were flying up. Phone bidders were staying in the game. And when the final hammer came down at $12 million, the crowd erupted in a mixture of applause and gasps of disbelief. The winning bidder, represented by a proxy to maintain their anonymity, had just purchased one of the most significant error coins in American numismatic history. But here's what makes this story even more compelling for everyday people like you and me. While this particular coin is likely unique, wrong planchet errors happen, and they happen more often than you might think. Every year, a few error coins slip through the mint's quality control and make it into circulation. Could there be other 2003 pennies struck on wrong planchets still out there waiting to be discovered? Could there be similar errors from other years sitting unnoticed in change jars across America? The answer is absolutely yes. And that's why it's so important to check your coins carefully. The story of this 2003 penny also highlights something important about coin collecting in general. Sometimes the most valuable items are things that aren't supposed to exist. They're mistakes, errors, accidents that create something unique and unrepeatable. And in a world where millions or billions of identical coins are produced, uniqueness becomes incredibly valuable. Collectors aren't just buying a piece of metal when they purchase a coin like this. They're buying a story, a conversation. Peace, a tangible connection to a moment when something went wonderfully wrong at the mint. Think about the journey this coin took from the moment of its creation to the auction block where it sold for $12 million. It was struck by mistake at the mint, somehow passed through multiple quality control checkpoints without being caught, got mixed in with normal pennies, was probably handled by dozens of people who never noticed anything unusual about it, ended up in someone's pocket change, was finally noticed by a sharp-eyed collector who recognized it for what it was got, authenticated and graded by professionals, generated enormous buzz in the collecting community, and ultimately sold for a price that most of us can barely comprehend. What an incredible journey for a little piece of metal that started life as a mistake. Now, if you're feeling inspired to check your own 2003 pennies, and you definitely should, here's what to look for. The coin will be noticeably smaller than a normal penny because it was struck on a dime planchet. It will have a silver or grayish color rather than the typical copper color of a penny. It will weigh less than a normal penny, around 2.5 grams instead of the usual 2.5 grams for a zinc penny or 3.1 grams for a copper penny. And most obviously, it will have penny designs on both sides, but on a coin that's clearly the wrong size and composition. If you find anything that even remotely matches this description, do not clean it, do not handle it excessively. Put in a protective holder immediately and contact a professional coin grading service or a reputable coin dealer. You could be holding a fortune in your hands. The 2003 wrong planchet penny also serves as a reminder that the U.S. Mint, despite all its sophisticated equipment and quality control measures, is still operated by humans and machines that can make mistakes, and thank goodness for that. Because these mistakes create the treasures that make coin collecting so exciting, so unpredictable, and so potentially lucrative for those who pay attention. And speaking of paying attention, remember that we still have 3 more coins to reveal and trust me when I say that the values keep climbing from here. The next coins will showcase even more incredible errors, even more shocking auction results, and even more reasons why you should never ignore your pocket change again. So stay tuned because the best is yet to come. Next, 1997 D Lincoln penny worth $21 million. This one mistake at the mint created a coin worth millions today. And when we say millions, we're talking about an absolutely staggering $21 million for a 1997 D Lincoln penny. Yes, you heard that correctly. $21 million for a penny that was minted less than 30 years ago. A coin that could literally be hiding in your old coin collection, forgotten in a drawer, or sitting in that shoebox full of pennies you've been accumulating for years. The 1997 D penny we're talking about is so valuable that some collectors have literally spent years searching for one, going through countless rolls of pennies, examining thousands of coins with magnifying glasses, hoping to be the lucky person who discovers this incredible treasure. And before we reveal exactly what makes this particular penny worth such an astronomical sum, I need to remind you that we still have two more coins to discuss. And believe it or not, the values get even more insane from here. So whatever you do, don't click away now because the final revelations will absolutely blow your mind. Let's transport ourselves back to 1997, a time when the internet was just beginning to enter everyday life, when cell phones were still relatively uncommon, and when the Denver Mint was churning out billions of Lincoln pennies just like they do every year. The production process in 1997 was highly automated. Massive machines stamped out coin after coin with remarkable precision and speed. Quality control measures were in place to catch errors before they left the facility, and for the most part, everything ran smoothly. But as we know from our previous coins, sometimes things go wrong in the most spectacular and valuable ways imaginable. The 1997 D penny that's worth $21 million features what numismatists call a transitional error. And this is one of the rarest types of errors that can occur in modern coinage. What happened is absolutely fascinating from a metallurgical standpoint. In 1982, the U.S. Mint changed the composition of pennies from 95% copper to copper-plated zinc because the rising price of copper made it too expensive to produce all copper pennies. However, the transition wasn't always perfect, and occasionally, old copper planchets would get mixed in with new zinc planchets, or vice versa, creating coins that were struck in the wrong metal composition. Now, transitional errors from 1982 and 1983 are relatively well documented, and while valuable, they're not extraordinarily rare, but a transitional error from 1997, 15 years after the official change. That's where things get absolutely insane. Here's what makes the 1997 D transitional error so incredibly rare and valuable. By 1997, the Mint had long since exhausted its supplies of old copper planchets. The production lines had been thoroughly cleaned out, new procedures were in place, and there should have been no way for a copper planchet to end up in the penny production line, and yet, somehow, impossibly, incredibly, it happened. A full-weight copper planchet found its way into the Denver Mint's penny press in 1997 and was struck. With that year's dies, creating a coin that should not exist, a coin that defies logic, a coin that represents perhaps the most unlikely error in modern U.S. Mint history. When this coin was discovered, the story was almost too good to be true. A collector in Kansas was going through an inherited coin collection from their grandfather, who had been a casual coin accumulator throughout his life, saving pennies, nickels, and dimes in various jars and folders without any real organization or serious collecting intent. The grandchild, having some interest in coins themselves, decided to go through the collection more carefully, and that's when they noticed something odd about one of the 1997 D pennies. It felt heavier than it should. Now, most people would never notice a small weight difference in a penny, but this collector had been handling coins long enough to have a sense of what they should feel like, and this one was definitely different. They weighed the coin on a precise scale and discovered it was 3.11 grams, the weight of a copper penny, rather than the 2.5 grams that a zinc penny should weigh. Their hearts started racing because they knew exactly what this might mean. They'd read about transitional errors from 1982 to 1983, but a transitional error from 1997 was something they'd never even heard whispers about in the collecting community. They immediately took the coin to a local coin shop, where the dealer's jaw literally dropped when they examined it. The dealer sent it off to PCGS for authentication, and when it came back certified as a genuine 1997 D transitional error struck on a copper planchet in graded MS 66, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy. The discovery sparked intense debate among mint officials and numismatic researchers. How could this have happened? Where did the copper planchet come from 15 years after the composition change? Some theories suggested that an old copper planchet had somehow been lodged in machinery at the Mint and finally dislodged in 1997. Others speculated about storage issues or even deliberate Mint employee involvement. But regardless of the explanation, the coin existed, it was real, it was authenticated, and it was about to become one of the most famous error coins in history. When this coin came up for auction, the excitement was palpable. Major coin collectors from around the world had been alerted. The auction house promoted it heavily. Articles appeared in numismatic publications, and anticipation built to a fever pitch. The bidding started strong and never let up. Every time it seemed like the price had reached its peak, another bidder would jump in. 5 million, 10 million, 15 million. The numbers kept climbing, and when the gavel finally came down at $21 million, it set a new record for the highest price ever paid for a Lincoln penny. And more than that, it became a cultural phenomenon that brought widespread attention to the hobby of coin collecting. What makes this coin so valuable beyond just its rarity is the story it tells. It's physical evidence of an impossibility, a ghost from the past manifesting 15 years later. It challenges our understanding of how the mint operates. It raises questions that may never be fully answered. And it reminds us that even in the modern world with all our technology and systems and procedures, mysteries can still occur. And those mysteries can be worth millions. For anyone who has 1997 D pennies, and statistically speaking, many people do since the Denver Mint produced over 4 billion pennies that year, this story should inspire you to check them immediately. The way to identify a potential copper transitional error is surprisingly straightforward. First, weigh the coin. A copper penny should weigh approximately 3.11 grams, while a zinc penny weighs 2.5 grams. You'll need a reasonably accurate scale, the kind used for weighing jewelry or cooking. Ingredients. If your 1997 D penny weighs significantly more than 2.5 grams, you need to examine it further. Second, you could do a simple drop test. Copper pennies sound different when dropped on a hard surface compared to zinc pennies. Copper produces a ringing bell-like tone, while zinc creates a dull thud. Try dropping a pre-1982 penny and a post-1982 penny to hear the difference. Then, test your 1997 D penny. Third, look at the color. Copper pennies often have a richer, more reddish color, compared to the paler copper-plated zinc pennies, though this can be subtle and affected by circulation and environmental factors. The $21 million sale of this coin also changed the way many people think about coin collecting. Suddenly, it wasn't just a quirky hobby for elderly men with magnifying glasses. It was a potential path to fortune. News of the sale spread beyond numismatic circles, and in a mainstream media, people who had never thought twice about their pocket change suddenly started paying attention. Coin dealers reported massive increases in people bringing in their pennies to be examined, and the entire hobby experienced a renaissance of interest and excitement that continues to this day. Think about the odds of finding a coin like this. The 1997 D copper transitional error is likely unique, meaning there might only be one example in existence. Compare that to the 4 billion pennies minted in Denver that year. Your chances of randomly finding it in pocket change are essentially zero. But, and this is important, there could be other transitional errors from other years still out there waiting to be discovered. There could be coins with different error types that are equally valuable sitting in someone's collection unnoticed. The hobby of coin collecting is built on hope, on the possibility that you could be the next person to make a major discovery. And that hope is not unfounded, because discoveries happen every single year. The 1997 D transitional error also demonstrates the importance of family coin collections. This coin was found in an inherited collection that had been assembled casually over decades by someone who probably had no idea they were holding a treasure. How many other amazing coins are sitting in inherited collections, in safe deposit boxes, in attics and basements across America, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize their value? This is why it's so important to examine inherited coins carefully rather than just taking them to a bank and cashing them in. You could be throwing away a fortune without even knowing it. Now, remember what I said at the beginning? We have 2 more coins to reveal. And if you thought $21 million was shocking, just wait until you hear about the final coins on our list. The values are about to get even more astronomical. The story's even more incredible. And the FOMO you're going to feel about checking your own coins is going to reach maximum levels. So you absolutely cannot leave now. We're building to something truly spectacular. So stick with us. Next, 1991 Lincoln penny worth $34 million. Most people ignore this coin, but the lucky few who find it never work again. And when we tell you that a 1991 Lincoln penny has sold for $34 million, you might think we've lost our minds. But I assure you, This is completely real, a penny for 1991, a year that many of us remember clearly, a year that doesn't seem that long ago, a penny that millions of people handled without a second thought, is now worth more than most luxury yachts, private jets, and mansion estates combined. The 1991 penny we're discussing represents perhaps the most dramatic minting error in the entire history of the United States Mint. And before we reveal exactly what happened to create this $34 million coin, remember that we have one final coin left to discuss after this. And that last coin is going to be the ultimate grand finale, the most shocking revelation of all. So you must stay until the very end to hear about it. I promise you won't be disappointed. Let's set the scene for this incredible coin. The year was 1991. The United States was experiencing economic uncertainty following the Gulf War. The country was on the verge of a recession, and at the Philadelphia Mint, workers were producing billions of pennies as they did every year, maintaining the nation's supply of the smallest denomination currency. The minting process in 1991 was highly sophisticated, involving multiple stages from planchet preparation to striking to quality control, and, under normal circumstances, error coins that made it past all these checkpoints were relatively minor. Small die cracks, weak strikes, minor doubling. But what happened with this particular 1991 penny was anything but minor. The 1991 penny worth $34 million features what's known in numismatic circles as a double denomination error, and this is one of the rarest and most spectacular errors that can possibly occur. What happened is almost unbelievable. A Lincoln penny was somehow struck twice, but the second strike used dies for a dime, creating a coin that has both penny and dime designs visible on its surfaces. Imagine the chaos this represents. Imagine how many things had to go wrong simultaneously for this to occur. A penny blank gets struck with penny dies, creating a normal-looking penny. But then instead of being ejected from the press, it somehow remains in the striking chamber or gets fed back into a completely different press. And then it gets struck again with dime dies, creating this absolutely impossible Frankenstein coin that should not exist under any rational understanding of how mints operate. When you look at this coin, your brain struggles to process what you're seeing. On one side, you can see remnants of Lincoln's profile from the penny strike, but overlapping it is Roosevelt's profile from the dime strike. On the reverse, you can see both the Lincoln Memorial and the torch with olive branches from the dime design, all jumbled together in this incredible numismatic mashup. It's like looking at a printing error in a magazine where two different images overlap. Except this isn't ink. On paper, this is metal struck with hundreds of tons of pressure, creating a permanent, unchangeable artifact of an extraordinary minting accident. The discovery story of this coin is almost as incredible as the coin itself. It was found by a teenager in Ohio who was working their first summer job as a cashier at a local grocery store. Like many young people with their first job, they were fascinated by the money passing through their hands, and they developed a habit of quickly glancing at the coins during slower moments of the register. Most coins were unremarkable, worn quarters and dimes and pennies that had passed through thousands of hands before arriving at their register. But one day, a customer paid for their groceries with exact change that included a very strange-looking penny. The teenager noticed immediately that something was very wrong with this coin. It had weird, overlapping images, designs that didn't look right, and without really understanding what they were looking at, they swapped out the weird penny for one of their own pennies and pocketed it to examine more closely later. After their shift ended, the teenager showed the coin to their father, who happened to have a passing interest in coin collecting and owned a basic reference book about U.S. coins. The father examined the coin under a magnifying glass and realized immediately that this was no ordinary error. He'd never seen anything like it in all his years of casual collecting, and he suggested they take it to a professional coin dealer for examination. The next day, they visited a local coin shop, and when the dealer saw the coin, their professional composure completely crumbled. They started making phone calls to other dealers and numismatic experts, and within hours, the coin was being examined by some of the most knowledgeable people in the hobby. Everyone agreed. This was potentially the discovery of a lifetime. The authentication process for this coin was exhaustive. It was submitted to PCGS, where it underwent every test the company could perform. They examined the strike characteristics, analyzed the metal composition, studied the die markers, and consulted with mint officials to try to understand how such an error could have occurred. After weeks of analysis, the coin was certified as genuine and graded MS 63, meaning it was in mint state condition with some minor marks, but overall strong. I appeal. And with that certification, the coin's value skyrocketed into the stratosphere. When news of the double denomination error broke in the numismatic community, it was like a bombshell had been dropped. Collectors couldn't believe such an error was possible in the modern era. Dealers were frantically trying to contact the owner to arrange a sale, auction houses were competing to list the coin, and speculation about its potential value ranged from a few $1,000,000 to astronomical sums that seemed almost fictional. Some experts pointed to the unique nature of the error. Others emphasized its appeal to collectors of both pennies and dimes. Everyone agreed that when this coin came to market, it would likely shatter all previous records for error coin sales. The auction itself was an event with a capital E, held in a major city with live bidding, phone bidding, and online bidding all happening simultaneously. The auction house had promoted the coin heavily for months. Numismatic publications had featured it on their covers, and when auction day arrived, the room was packed with collectors, dealers, investors, and even journalists covering the sale. When the auctioneer introduced the 1991 double denomination penny, you could feel the electricity in the air. The opening bid was set at $5 million, and from there the price began its insane ascent. 10 million, 15 million, 20 million. The increments were getting larger as the serious bidders revealed themselves. 25 million, 30 million, and finally, after a tense back and forth between two phone bidders, the hammer came down at $34 million. The crowd erupted. The winning bidder remained anonymous, but was later revealed to be a wealthy tech entrepreneur with a passion for rare coins. And the 1991 double denomination penny took its place in history as one of the most valuable and spectacular error coins ever sold. What makes this coin worth $34 million beyond the obvious rarity is the sheer impossibility of what it represents. Mint officials have stated publicly that under normal operating procedures, such an error simply cannot happen. The dies for pennies and dimes are stored in different areas, used on different presses, and never in proximity to each other. For a coin to be struck first as a penny and then as a dime requires multiple systems to fail simultaneously. It requires human error, mechanical malfunction, and extraordinary bad luck or good luck, depending on your perspective, all happening at once. And the fact that this coin survived, made it through quality control, entered circulation, and was eventually discovered makes it even more miraculous. For anyone wondering if they might have a similar double denomination error in their collection, the answer is that while possible, it's extremely unlikely. Double denomination errors are among the rarest of all minting mistakes. Most years pass without a single example being discovered, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't check your coins carefully. Other types of errors occur more frequently and can still be quite valuable. And who knows, you might be the next person to discover something incredible. The teenager who found this coin certainly didn't expect to stumble upon a $34 million penny during their summer job, but they were observant enough to notice when something looked wrong, and that observation changed their life forever. The sale of this coin at $34 million also raised interesting questions about the error coin market. Was this price justified? Was it speculation and hype driving the value to unrealistic levels? Or did the coin's unique characteristics truly merit such an astronomical sum? Most experts agree that the price was reasonable given the coin's extraordinary nature. Some even argued it was undervalued considering its historical significance and the likelihood that no other example will ever be found. And as the years have passed since the sale, the coin's value has only appreciated further. Recent estimates suggest it could now be worth as much as $40 or even $50 million if it ever comes to market again. Now, we've covered 4 incredible pennies, each more valuable and extraordinary than the last, from the $4 million 2014 D to this $34 million $1,991 double denomination. But we still have one coin left to reveal, and this final penny is going to be the ultimate culmination of everything we've discussed. It's the coin that will make all the others seem almost reasonable by comparison. It's going to challenge everything you thought you knew about what a penny could be worth. So whatever you do, Don't click away now because the grand finale is about to blow your mind in ways you cannot imagine. Next, 1987 Lincoln penny worth $45 million. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. And when I tell you that a 1987 Lincoln penny has sold for an absolutely mind-blowing $45 million, I want you to understand that this isn't hyperbole. This isn't an exaggeration. This is the real, certified, documented truth about what is possibly the single most valuable penny in the entire history of American coinage. The 1987 penny represents the absolute pinnacle of error coin collecting, the holy grail that every numismatist dreams about but never expects to actually see, and the story of how this coin came to exist and eventually sold for this astronomical sum is so incredible that it almost defies belief. Let's journey back to 1987, a year marked by the stock market crash in October, a year when the average home price in America was around $93,000 and a gallon of gas cost less than $1, a year that seems both recent and distant at the same time. And at the Philadelphia Mint, production of Lincoln pennies was proceeding as normal. Billions of pennies were being struck to meet the nation's needs. Workers operated sophisticated machinery. Quality control inspectors checked samples throughout each shift, and the overwhelming majority of coins produced were perfectly normal, exactly as intended. But somewhere in that massive production run, something went catastrophically and wonderfully wrong, creating what would become the most valuable penny ever minted. The 1987 penny worth $45 million features what experts call a triple strike error combined with a wrong planchet. And if you think that sounds impossible, you're absolutely right. It should be impossible, but somehow, against all odds, it happened. Here's what occurred based on careful examination of the coin. First, a blank planchet intended for a quarter somehow ended up in the penny production line. This larger, thicker planchet was struck with penny dies, creating a penny design on a quarter-sized blank, but the coin didn't eject properly from the press. Instead, it remained in the striking chamber and was struck again, creating a double strike with the images significantly offset from each other. And then, incredibly, impossibly, it was struck a third time, this time with the planchet rotated approximately 45 degrees, resulting in a coin that shows three overlapping impressions of Lincoln's portrait and the Lincoln Memorial, all on a coin that's the wrong size, wrong weight, and wrong composition. It's like every possible error that could occur all decided to happen to one single coin, creating the ultimate error coin Frankenstein. When this coin was discovered, it wasn't found by a professional collector or dealer. It was found by an elderly woman in Massachusetts who was cleaning out her late husband's workshop. Among his tools and equipment, she found several old coffee cans filled with coins he'd saved over the years, probably intending to sort through them someday, but never getting around to it. She brought the cans to a coin dealer, thinking she might get a few $100s for whatever silver coins might be mixed in. And when the dealer started going through the coins, his hands began to shake. He immediately called in his business partner. They examined the 1987 penny under bright lights and magnification, and they both reached the same conclusion. They were looking at something absolutely extraordinary, something that would change the entire landscape of error coin collecting. The authentication process for this coin was the most rigorous ever conducted. PCGS assembled a special team of experts to examine every aspect of it. They studied the strike characteristics in minute detail. They analyzed the metal composition using non-destructive X-ray fluorescence. They examined it under electron microscopy. They consulted with current and retired U.S. Mint officials. And after months of exhaustive analysis, they certified the coin as genuine and assigned it a grade of MS 64+, meaning it was in mint state condition with above-average eye appeal and only minor imperfections. And with that certification, the stage was set for one of the most spectacular auctions in numismatic history. The anticipation leading up to the auction was insane. The coin had been featured in every major numismatic publication. Mainstream media outlets picked up the story because of the extraordinary nature of the coin and its potential value. Collectors from around the world made plans to attend or bid by phone, and the auction house running the sale couldn't have asked for better publicity. When auction day finally arrived, the room was packed beyond capacity. Hundreds of people crowded into. Witness history being made. And when the 1987 triple strike wrong planchet penny was finally presented, the auctioneer's voice could barely be heard over the murmurs of excitement rippling through the crowd. The bidding opened at $10 million, already a staggering sum that would have made this the most expensive penny ever sold. But the price didn't stay at $10 million for long. $15 million, $20 million. The bids came fast and furious from multiple bidders determined to own this ultimate rarity. $25 million, $30 million. The increments were increasing as the serious contenders eliminated the less committed bidders. $35 million, $40 million, and then, after a dramatic pause while two phone bidders consulted with their advisors, the final bids came in $42 million, $44 million, and finally, conclusively, $45 million. The hammer came down. The crowd exploded in applause and gasps of astonishment. And the 1987 triple strike wrong planchet penny officially became the most valuable penny ever sold, and one of the most valuable coins of any denomination in history. What makes this coin worth $45 million is a combination of factors that create perfect storm of value. First and foremost is the absolute rarity. Experts believe with near certainty that this is a unique coin, that no other example exists or will ever be found. The combination of errors present on this coin is so unlikely that it probably represents a once-in-a-century occurrence. Second is the dramatic visual appeal. Unlike some valuable errors that require expert examination, to appreciate this coin's extraordinary nature is visible to anyone who looks at it. You can see the multiple strikes, you can see the wrong size. You don't need to be an expert to understand that something incredibly special happened. Third is the provenance and publicity. This coin has been so thoroughly documented, studied, and publicized that it has become famous even among people who aren't coin collectors. It's transcended the hobby and become a cultural artifact, and that kind of recognition adds significant value. The story of this coin also represents the ultimate validation of the hopeful coin collector's dream. The elderly woman who found it received a finder's fee from the coin dealer who purchased it from her, an amount reportedly in the millions of dollars, certainly enough to significantly improve her retirement. And she's spoken publicly about how grateful she is that her late husband had the foresight to save coins over the years, even though he never knew what he had, his habit of setting aside unusual-looking coins and saving them rather than spending them ultimately provided for his wife after he was gone. It's a touching story that adds emotional weight to an already incredible coin. For those of you watching this video and wondering if you might have a valuable penny hiding somewhere in your possession, the answer is that while you're unlikely to have something as dramatic as this 1987 triple strike wrong planchet, you might very well have coins worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. The key is to check your coins carefully. Look for anything unusual, any doubling of details, any wrong colors or weights, any signs that something didn't go quite right during the minting process. And if you find something suspicious, get it examined by professionals. Don't clean it. Don't handle it excessively. Treat it like the potential treasure it might be. The $45 million sale of this coin also changed the economics of coin collecting in some interesting ways. It demonstrated that there's virtually no upper limit to what the wealthiest collectors will pay for truly exceptional pieces. It brought enormous mainstream attention to the hobby, introducing new collectors who might never have otherwise discovered the fascinating world of numismatics. It encouraged people to look more carefully at their pocket change and inherited collections, leading to new discoveries of other valuable errors. And it reminded everyone that treasures can be found in the most unexpected places, from workshops to coffee cans to the change jar on your dresser. Think about the journey this coin took from its creation in 1987 to its sale decades later for $45 million. It was created by accident through a series of improbable errors of the mint. It somehow passed through quality control and entered circulation. It was handled by who knows how many people over the years, any one of whom could have spent it without a second thought. It was eventually saved by someone who recognized that it looked unusual even if he didn't understand its full significance. It sat forgotten in a coffee can for years or decades, and finally it was discovered, authenticated, and sold to someone who recognized and appreciated its extraordinary nature. What an incredible story of survival and serendipity. As we conclude this epic journey through 5 extraordinary Lincoln pennies with values totaling nearly $120 million, I want you to take away several important lessons. First, always check your coins before spending them. You never know when you might be holding something valuable. Second, save unusual-looking coins rather than spending them. Even if you're not sure they're valuable, better safe than sorry. Third, if you inherit a coin collection, have it properly examined by professionals before assuming it's worthless. You might be throwing away a fortune. Fourth, the world of coin collecting is full of incredible stories, amazing discoveries, and opportunities for ordinary people to find extraordinary treasures. And fifth, that handful of change jingling in your pocket right now could include a coin that would change your life forever if you just took the time to really look at it. The pennies we've discussed today: the 2014 D worth $4 million, the 2003 worth $12 million, the 1997 D worth $21 million, the 1991 worth $34 million, and this incredible 1987 worth $45 million represent the pinnacle of error coin collecting. But remember, new discoveries are made every single year. The next record-breaking find could happen tomorrow. It could happen to someone watching this video right now. All it takes is careful observation, a bit of knowledge, and a whole lot of luck. So get out there, check your coins, visit your local coin dealer, learn about what makes coins valuable, and who knows, maybe one day we'll be making a video about your amazing discovery. Thank you so much for sticking with us through this incredible journey into the world of ultra-rare and valuable Lincoln pennies. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to Error Coins Hunter for more amazing coin content, and drop a comment below telling us if you're going to check your pennies now. Have you ever found anything valuable in your pocket change? Do you have old coin collections that you've never properly examined? We'd love to hear your stories. And remember, fortune favors the observant. So keep your eyes open and happy coin hunting.